So apparently 50% of Americans believe they're in the middle class. But what if I told you most Americans are wrong? Today, I'm breaking down all the income classes based on the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances. I'm gonna cover income ranges, characteristics, and strategies to help you get to the next class. So starting with the lower class, using the Fed's report, it breaks income distribution down into 5 brackets, which cover the bottom 20% all the way to the top 20%. So you are in the lower class if your household income is anywhere between $0 to $34,600. Now, if you're single and ready to mingle, it is a bit trickier to figure out this number for individuals because math be mathin'. But basically, in the US, a household is about 3 people, right? But usually we don't count kids as income earners because they're child labor laws. So if we assume there is 1.5 earners per household and you are not cuffed, then you are in the lower class if you earn anywhere from $0 to $23,067. So what does life actually look like here? Y'all, if you fall in this range, then I am sorry, but there's very little room for error. You probably have no buffer for emergencies, and it's gonna be really tough for you to move into the next class, but not impossible, okay? I'm gonna share 3 strategies in a little bit, but basically people in this bracket primarily work low-wage, labor-intensive jobs, like personal care aides, or you're in the service industry, like a cashier or waitress with very little job security. Now, most of these positions barely offer any benefits, meaning if you get sick or you lose your job, unfortunately, you don't have much of a safety net. If you want to move to the next class, it's not impossible, but there are 3 things that you need to do immediately, which all focus around financial stability. Because if you don't have this, even if you get a higher paycheck, it can all go poof overnight. Number 1 is to build a 3 to 6 month emergency fund that covers your essential expenses, like your food, your housing, and your utilities. Now, nearly 40% of Americans, they can't afford a $400 emergency without borrowing or selling something. So even having $400 puts you in a better spot than the average American. Now, don't feel bad if your fund is small because it doesn't really matter how small your fund starts out as because something is better than nothing. Number 2, renegotiate every bill and pay off high interest debt to maximize cash flow. You see, most people assume bills are fixed, right? But the truth is, they're not. Like even super serious stuff like medical bills can be negotiated. A 2021 study found that 59% of Americans who had medical debt negotiated at least one of their bills, and 93% of them got it lowered. So go ahead, call your service providers, your credit cards, your insurance companies, your utilities, and ask for better terms, right? Start canceling unused subscriptions and aggressively pay off high interest debt, more than 7%, with the avalanche method, okay? And everything you save here, use it to pad step number 1. Now, number 3, unfortunately, it is really hard to get raises in a lot of minimum wage jobs. So your priority here should be to focus on learning new skills so you can get a better job. Like Catherine Testament, right? She was getting paid around $250 every 2 weeks, which, come on, it's barely enough to live on, right? So she took everyone's common advice and went to college. But the problem is she couldn't keep up working part-time and studying at the same time. So she was like, you know what, screw college. I'm gonna do an apprenticeship instead. So she eventually became an electrician and now makes roughly $70K a year with benefits. So apprenticeships, trade schools, whatever, thumbs up. Otherwise, if you don't wanna do that route, you can pick up some side hustles like online tutoring or even flipping things on Craigslist. And that brings us to the next class, which is the lower middle class. And if you're here, your household income is between $34,601 to $59,500. And if you are single, you're also here if you earn between $23,067 to $39,667. So what does life look like here, right? The big difference is when you are part of the lower middle class compared to the lower class is that you now have a bit more income to cover your bills. Like you're still probably paycheck to paycheck, and still a big unexpected emergency can ruin you financially. But on the bright side, you can occasionally afford some luxuries, even though they're limited. Like maybe you can take a modest road trip, maybe once or twice a year. Typically, jobs here are a bit more stable, but they still offer a couple benefits. And according to the BLS, these jobs look like administrative assistants or retail managers within that space. The key to moving to the next class is really to optimize every dollar you earn so you can break out of the paycheck to paycheck cycle. And here are 4 things you need to do. Number 1, keeping a tight leash on your cash flow is everything, okay? So pick a budget and follow it. I personally recommend the 50-30-20 rule to start with. So for example, if you have $1,000, 50% or $500 is reserved for your needs, 30% or $300 is reserved for your wants, and 20% or $200 of that goes to your savings and your debt repayments. If you don't think the 50-30-20 rule is possible for you, then the third step is going to help you a lot. But just remember, take this rule and all finance rules as guidelines. If you're surviving on 50-cent ramen and water and you're still struggling to save 20%, it's cool, okay? It's cool to start with 5 to 10%, but just over time, work on increasing it because the point is to try to get as close to the guidelines as possible. Number 2, you want to stop price tag shopping and start cost per use shopping, okay? So price tag shopping is basically you going into a store and you think buying a $6 sweater is a great deal. But the problem with that is that maybe you could only wear it like twice before it gets a hole in it and it's ruined forever. On the other hand, cost per use shopping is going into a store and knowing a $60 sweater is a much better deal because you can wear it at least 200 times. So the next time that you buy something, think about how many times you need to actually use it to bring the cost per use down to basically free, and whether that's even realistic. If not, then that might mean it's too expensive. Number 3, and this is gonna help a lot, automate your finances to eliminate decision fatigue and to pay yourself first, okay? Studies show that decision fatigue leads to worse financial choices over time because when you are like manually moving money into your savings, right, or to invest, it's very easy to forget about it. The trick is to set up automatic transfers so that once you receive your paycheck, your money gets to work, right? It automatically flows into your emergency fund, your retirement accounts, your savings, your bills, your debt, your investment account, whatever. And then whatever you have left over, that's when you spend on wants. And number 4, check your credit score and improve it. Because if you have a low credit score, life and things will get more expensive for you. Now you can check your credit score for free on annualcreditreport.com. I know the site looks a little bit outdated, but it is the only federally authorized site out there, so you are in good hands. And very quickly, going back to things getting more expensive, for example, one big factor that determines how much you will pay for, let's say, a house or a car is your credit. And according to the Mortgage Bankers Association, having low credit could cost you $59,000 more in total interest on a typical loan compared to someone who has strong credit. That's real money that can go towards your future instead of paying off interest payments. And that's why I wanted to introduce today's sponsor, Kickoff, the #1 credit building app in the App Store. Kickoff helps you build credit quickly and safely with no credit check, no interest, and no hidden fees. For example, Kickoff users with credit under 600 who made on-time payments saw their credit improve by an average of 28 points in just 1 month. It's super easy to use and only takes a few minutes to sign up. Kickoff helps you build positive payment history and lower utilization starting at just $5 per month. Plus, I was able to get you guys 80% off your first month, meaning you can start building your credit starting at just $1. So if you are interested, check out Kickoff with the link in my description. All right, so moving on to where most Americans think they are, the middle class. You are here if your household income is between $59,501 to $91,900. And again, if you are single and ready to mingle, your income here ranges from $39,667 to $61,267. So what does life look like here? Okay, most people in the middle class have some financial stability, right? But they're not completely free from financial worries. You have some savings, you got some investments, maybe you got a 401k going, you probably own a car and a home, or you're actively working towards home ownership. You go on budget vacations, you might go to Disney, but you're staying at the cheaper hotel offsite. Eating out is also relatively budget friendly. Maybe you treat yourself and you splurge once in a while, but it's nothing super extravagant. For work, you most likely have some type of degree or specialized skills, and you work a white collar or skilled trade job such as a registered nurse, as an accountant, or like an entry-level software developer. But a big problem that I see is that most people in the middle class cannot move up to the next level because they fall for 3 big financial traps. So here's what you need to do to immediately avoid them. Number 1, increase your contributions into your retirement accounts, like your 401ks, your IRAs, to at least 15% of your income. Or at a minimum, contribute up to your employer's 401k match. And I'm still shocked that 1 in 4 workers do not take full advantage of their 401k match, which leaves on average over $1,000 of potential free money on the table every year. And according to Vanguard, the average 401k balance for Americans who are close to retirement is about $244,000, which is very far off from what most people need. So the point is, the more you can contribute here, the better. Number 2, start investing. According to this report, households with net worths over $1 million invest way more in stocks, private equity, and business investments than those below that level. Why? Because investing in assets is how you build wealth. So if you want to start investing, I've created a free 5-day investing course to help you out. It's completely free. You can get it in the link in the description. I cover things like how to invest without feeling overwhelmed, how to protect your money from losses, and a lot more. Again, it's free, link below. Number 3, curate your inner circle. Most people never think about this, but how much wealth you can build is honestly shaped by who you surround yourself with. Like, your financial network is one of your greatest leverages. If your friends are always spending money, right? They rarely invest, they're always popping bottles, they consistently make poor financial decisions, you will unconsciously start doing those things too. It's gonna rub off of you. It's unavoidable. So that's why you need to deliberately build an inner circle of financially smart, savvy, ambitious people with similar goals to you. Which brings me to the upper middle class. Fancy. You're here if your household income is between $91,901 to $153,100. And if you're not cuffed up, then you're looking at anywhere between $61,267 to $102,067. So what does life look like here? One word, financial security. Wait. Depending on your city, you likely own a house in a pretty good neighborhood, right? You probably drive a nice car and you send your kid to good schools. You occasionally treat yourself to economy plus, maybe first class. You stay at nicer hotels, eat at fancier restaurants, and you do a big splurge every few months. You got a decent amount of money in your portfolio, but probably a large portion of that is tied up in your home equity. And as for work, you probably have a degree or an advanced certification, like you're a software engineer, maybe you're a doctor, primary care physician, dentist, right? Or a lawyer, and basically all the other big corporate jobs you can think of. So at this stage, I want to introduce my favorite philosopher of all time, Biggie Smalls, who once said, "Mo money, mo problems." Now, this is where it gets a little bit complicated because you got some, you got taxes, you got larger investment decisions to make, and you got more opportunities or traps to navigate through. The real key here to move to the next level is really capital efficiency, meaning it's about how you maximize every dollar you earn, and specifically around 3 things. Number 1, max out all your available tax advantage accounts, because at this level, your taxes are probably your biggest liability. If you're making 6 figures, right? A large chunk of your income is going towards taxes unless you can shield it. In 2025, you can contribute up to $23,000 to a 401k, or if you're older than 50, $30,500. You can do $7,000 into a Roth or traditional IRA, or $8,000 if you're 50 plus. If your income is too high for a direct Roth IRA contribution, this is when you use a backdoor Roth IRA conversion to still get that tax-free growth. Also, if you got a kid or 2, a 529 plan can shelter money for educational costs while growing tax-free. Beyond retirement accounts, HSAs or health saving accounts are massively underutilized. If you have a high deductible health plan, look into this, right? You can contribute up to $4,150 as an individual or $8,300 as a family in 2025. And HSAs have a triple tax advantage, which means tax-free contributions, tax-free growth, and tax-free withdrawals for medical expenses. Number 2, build beyond your inner circle, okay? I know this is similar to the last one, but it's completely different. Now you want to start networking strategically because access is the ultimate wealth multiplier at this point, okay? At this level, your next big opportunity, that's not gonna come from a job posting on LinkedIn or Indeed or whatever, right? It's not gonna be a public thing, but it's gonna come from having the right conversations. It's gonna come from being in the right rooms. So you gotta start networking and meeting people to be invited into these exclusive areas in these rooms. Number 3, and something that stood out to me while I was doing this research is that a lot of upper income wealthy households, right? They own businesses. They own a lot more businesses compared to the middle and lower class. Meaning wealthy people don't just have high paying jobs, right? They own things that make money for them. So if you have that drive, start that side hustle, start that business, or partner or invest in one. And that brings us to the upper class. Now, keep in mind, okay, the Fed report that we are going off of only goes up to the 90th percentile, meaning it doesn't include the wealthiest 10% of Americans. If they were included, they would significantly pull up this upper class income range. Just know that the wealthiest 10% easily make over 500K a year in income. All right, so now that we're done feeling bad about ourselves, back to the upper class range. You are here in the upper class if your household income is anywhere between $153,101 to $245,400. And if you are single, that is between $102,067 to $163,600. So what does life look like? Here, your income is part salary, part investment returns, and part passive income. In fact, you probably prefer to be earning less money to pay fewer taxes and instead get paid in equity instead, right? Here, you probably own a business, you own stocks, you own real estate, or other types of appreciating asset. You have a nice home, right? And you're probably not filtering by lowest price anymore when you're shopping online. You know, time is more valuable than money, so you're okay paying a little extra to get things faster or better service, right? Think like holding an Amex Platinum or Chase Sapphire Reserve so you can skip lines at the airport or get VIP concert tickets. In terms of work, you're probably a hyper-specialized doctor, right? A corporate lawyer, partner at a law firm, or investment banker or hedge fund manager. But the most important thing to keep in mind is that this is all location dependent, okay? Earning 100K living in New York City, Manhattan is not gonna go as far as if you were earning 100K living in Wisconsin, right? And although this video is focused on income, some may argue that your net worth actually plays a bigger role in determining what class you belong to. Like if you earn $1 million a year, but your annual expenses is $999,000, right? Your net worth is probably lower than someone who earns $70,000 a year, but have an annual expense of $30,000. Now, what's very cool is that it's very possible to build a high net worth without a high income. It's all about investing early. Like if you invest $300 a month from 25 to 65 and you assume a 10% annual rate of return, you're gonna have over $1.6 million in your portfolio. And you can see from this chart how different classes of wealth store their money. And you can see the wealthiest Americans have much larger percentages of their money stored in stocks and mutual fund shares, right? Compared to all the other classes, meaning building wealth is way more than just income. So if you want to start investing, click this video to find out what I would invest in if I wanted to invest $10,000 today. Now, best of luck, and I'll see you in the next video.